And for me, Bhagwan was a man, I fell in love with him. And he was man just like you and me. Why should he not feel like a man? Allow him the ability to have human emotions. I was the only one who offered him that. And yet, oh my God, he is my God. He sits in my heart. He occupies 100% of my heart.
How do you look back at America as a country?
They want to control women through their going back on Roe versus laws. They are taking people's right away. It happens in Africa. Don't let your constitution become less than a toilet paper.
Everyone's heard of Wild Wild Country. Many of us know about Rajneesh or Osho. What I promise you is that you wouldn't have heard Ma Anand Sheela talk about her favorite subject in the world in this manner. The teachings of Rajneesh. If you're in the search for growth, if you're in the search for self-awareness, if you want to know more about Osho, if you want to know more even about Wild Wild Country, this is the episode for you. Ma Anand Sheela opened up like never before in a super fun manner, went very deep into some topics. I think if you're involved in the process of what the world calls spirituality or self-awareness, you're going to enjoy this particular episode. Remember, before I let you all slip in, follow us on Spotify. We're a Spotify exclusive, which means that every episode is available on Spotify 48 hours before it's available anywhere else in the world. This is Ma Anand Sheela on The Ranveer Show. I don't even know where to begin this conversation, Ma Anand Sheela. I will say welcome to the Ranveer Show. This has been a long-standing wish of mine. Honor hosting you on the show, honor hosting you in my house. So strange.
It is wonderful. I love being together with young people. And you are so young, so it is my pleasure to be here.
Why? What's in young people that you enjoy? Like what's it about young people that you enjoy?
I see a lot of potential in young people, especially young Indian youth. You have come long way, and you have to walk still longer to find yourself. And I'm sure you all will find yourself.
Thank you, ma'am. I've again, this is one of those situations where I don't know where to begin the conversation. Just so much to unpack. Let me just begin by saying, or by asking you rather, how's life now? What's up? What's up with you?
Life is wonderful. I'm preparing myself for my last day.
Okay.
We are normally afraid of the last day. But I have lived so much that last day or the last moment can come now, and I'm ready. And this readiness is what I'm enjoying it.
You're talking to like a very large audience here. Let me also tell you that I put up a story on my Instagram about you being on the show this evening. And so many women on my friend list, on my following list, reached out and said, wow, I can't believe this. I'm waiting for this so much. You've become this huge icon for Indian youth, but specifically young Indian women. Did you think that when Wild Wild Country was being filmed that this would be the impact? And from an Indian youth perspective, we really got to know about you and your perspectives through that one documentary.
I did not think. Only reason I gave my interview to Wild Wild Country because my father had told me in 1996, Sheila, you must speak. Your experience of life is so vast that it will inspire the youth of future. But my sister, who lives with me, She was very mad with me for saying yes to everybody to do interview. She said, now they're going to do again a hatchet job on you and they don't understand, etc. And I said, what can I say? Let them do their work. I do mine. So I had no expectations. And I am pleasantly surprised that they have brought me, the youth of India, closer. But I have also a lot of other country youth, like Brazil, is very much excited about me, or Spain. Different parts of the world write to me on Instagram, and it feels wonderful to communicate with them.
Yeah, you are a worldwide celebrity now. Like, I think I was listening to a Joe Rogan Experience episode where there's this bunch of really tough men saying that, yeah, that woman was badass. And, that's the kind of image that the West has of you. So you've done India proud on behalf of Indian youth, I will say. And I'm no one to validate you for your life. What I do want to ask you, and I'm going to be super honest, super straightforward here, is that I didn't like Wild Wild Country. And I felt like I stopped watching in like 5 episodes because I felt like the narrative was slightly biased. The kind of highlight for me was getting to know your perspective, which is why I've been so keen on having you on the show for so long, because I also feel they didn't show all the parts of the interview that they did with you, and they were selective in the edit. And if you have edited enough videos, which we do for a living on YouTube, you can tell what filmmakers are trying to actually say if you try reading in between the lines. And they've given this very dark image of both Bhagwan Rajneesh, whatever had happened, and India in general. So I'm not in favor of that documentary. I am in favor of the fact that it did put India on the map in some ways.
It backfired on them. Let's put it that way. Because the raw material they had used, that material talks for itself of our work and our devotion to Bhagwan. I tell you, they have bigger problems now in their own country.
By they, you mean Americans?
Yeah.
Okay.
They have bigger problems.
Mm.
America almost is losing its number one country status. Not because of me, not because of the work and project we were engaged in, because of their own government, their own Senate and senators and president, ex-president.
In your eyes, why were you targeted, and why was why do they look at Osho the way they look at Osho, like from your eyes, and I'm trying to kind of dig into a slightly deeper layer of your mind here. I'm sure you've reflected upon it, and even when it comes to the subject of Bhagwan, people are polarized about it. There's people who are absolutely in love with everything he stood for, and then there's people on the other end of the spectrum. These people were fueled by that documentary, and they've kind of turned this curiosity into hate kind of within their hearts towards all godmen. And yes, there's so many con men out there who are posing as godmen, etc., etc., etc. But there's also a lot of genuinely good people out there who are what I would like to call spiritually evolved, trying to do good work on this planet. But it's kind of Wild Country's done a very biased job, in my opinion.
I haven't seen it, so I cannot say. I was filmed 5 days, non-stop, 9 till evening, with 2 pee pause and 1 lunch pause. Whatever questions they ask me, I have given them answer to each and every question. And They wanted to give me question ahead of time. I said, no need. I know what I have lived.
Mm.
I know who Bhagwan is. And I don't need questions ahead of time. We sit in front of each other and you ask whatever you want to ask. Wherever your heart takes you, ask me. And we did a very concentrated work. After that, what they do is their problem, not mine. Coming to Bhagwan being hated or loved, it is normal. Where do you find this intelligence that Bhagwan had? That creativity that he has shown? The answers to human problems on a daily basis, simple solution. Who has given? No one up till now. Bhagwan is the only one who has given such answer.
Mm.
Created a revolution in a young person like me who had nothing to do with meditation or spirituality. And I still don't have it, and I won't have it.
You don't want to take part in the hot take called spirituality?
No way. No way.
Okay.
You cannot drag me at...
No, we want to drag you, man.
No,
we gotta
no,
talk about it.
No way. The reality is what makes me. And I'm not afraid of reality. Whatever comes my way, I will take it graciously and walk through it.
I hear you. How do you look back at America as a country now?
I look back at America as a third world.
Okay.
They may have few good buildings and roads, but their mental state is worse than third world country.
Why do you say that?
Look at how conservative they have become. They have shredded freedom of the individual, the First Amendment, speech. They want to control. They want to control women through their going back on Roe versus laws. They are taking people's right away. It happens in Africa, not in America. It should not happen.
What do you think is the why?
Why? Because of some morons like their Supreme Court. Moron Trump. Autocrats. Corrupt senators from Republican Party. They think they're going to find answers. They're not going to find answers with this bunch of people.
We have American listeners of the show, which is why I wanted to address that topic. Do you want to close it with like one line or two lines?
Definitely. Don't sell your freedom. Don't let your constitution become less than a toilet paper.
And you think it's headed in that direction?
It's heading there.
Okay. Let's switch our direction completely. Ma Anand Sheela, we got to talk about Osho. And this is the subject I've wanted to speak about for so long. You know, when I was watching Wild Wild Country, there was this kind of worldwide phenomenon where when we saw the first 2-3 episodes, the whole world was fascinated by Osho. And then as the narrative of that show kept going forward, I began to dislike him myself. And that got me to read a little bit about Osho. And I perceived the heavy stuff written in books like Meditations by Osho as being dark. And then I put the book down and I went and read a little bit more about Osho, and I figured that, oh, okay, this is quite deep. And I probably needed to grow up a little bit to perceive everything that was written. Maybe my first question to you is, everyone knows about your first meeting with him and what you felt. Was it in the first meeting that he touched you on the forehead?
No.
No?
My first meeting is where I put my head on his lap.
Okay. I want to ask you about what happened post that first meeting, just in your mind. Did you internally feel like, what was your human journey? Did you internally feel like you're going to go on this journey with him, this lifelong journey with him?
There was no such decisions.
Okay.
There was no such reflections. I simply felt I want to be in the fragrance of this man. I wanted just to look at him, and disappear. And that's what happened.
Do you still think about him today?
Is he not part of me?
Is he?
Very much so.
Okay.
Very much so. If he was not part of me, I would not be able to speak about him.
Okay. The public perception is that, towards the end of his earthly life, y'all had distance between each other.
I left him, and then I never looked back. It was his teaching, burn your bridges behind.
Okay.
There are no second thought, no doubts, and no other terms that I use how I feel about Bhagwan.
Okay.
And for me, Bhagwan was a man, I fell in love with him. And he was man just like you and me. I used to sometimes tell people who worked near me, close to me, I used to say, why you are doing it? Why are you feeling upset that Bhagwan, you heard this gossip or that gossip? He's a man. Why should he not feel like a man? Allow him the ability to have human emotions. Allow him the ability to have toothache. Or bit of anger. What is wrong with it? We go through that all our life.
Yeah.
And that generosity to allow Bhagwan to be just a human. I guess I was the only one who offered him that. And yet, oh my God, he is my God. He sits in my heart. He occupies 100% of my heart. There are no doubts.
There's so many young Indians. Actually, there was a phase where lots of people were turning to atheism and not believing in a higher power, whatever you want to call it, God, Bhagwan, etc. And now there's this whole phase where young India has turned back to its roots. And that's what I was telling you on this show. Monks are really kind of... So on this show, the audience really enjoys having monks. We enjoy kind of speaking to the so-called God men, etc. Since you spent so much time with Osho, if you had to introduce, say, a youth of the world, not just India, to 3 of his key teachings, I know, and there's countless teachings, but if there was like 3 most important ones for you, what would you like to share with the world? If you had to introduce people to Osho.
Be yourself.
Okay.
Don't imitate. find your own true basic values.
Those are your three.
Three.
Okay.
You said three, no?
No, 100%.
Okay.
And then there's a 1,000 more. That's what I sense.
Million more.
Million more.
The reason million more, because every moment is different than the other. And you have to move through those moments.
Okay. Let's dive in a little deeper. If someone had to begin reading about him, which book would you recommend that they can start with?
I recommend anybody who wants to know Bhagwan, books up to 1985. So when he began in 1968 to 1985, because these books are not altered, his word. It is important that during these times, all his editing of the books were done just for punctuation. They were not, the words were not changed. Even if grammatically something was said differently, they were not changed. That was Bhagwan's instructions to us all. After I left, they have started cutting up Bhagwan's word to promote and make more money or whatever the reason.
How do you look at the Rajneesh organization now?
I don't look at it because I have nothing to do with it.
But you think they've altered the original teachings?
It is obvious.
Okay. Have you visited the Pune ashram at all?
No, I drove through once in 2019.
And what did you feel?
Nothing. What do you feel from a black wall? You feel nothing. You just ignore it and move forward.
That's not Bhagwan for you. Like, it's not a true representation.
That is not the Pune ashram that we created and we lived in it so proudly. It's not the place.
Okay. I'm sure there's a lot of people who only watched Wild Wild Country and they probably don't have a 360-degree perspective on Osho and everything that he stood for. The next question's for them. I saw an interaction you had, I think, with Karan Johar, where one of the questions was centered around sex and sexual activity. Are you tired of being asked these questions?
Ask me.
What was this whole sexual angle, where, and I'll tell you why I'm asking you this. Even when we were growing up in Mumbai or Delhi or wherever, urban India, if we ever brought up Osho, you'd have some relative commentary. Many people used to just have sex in those ashrams. What is the truth about this whole sexual activity situation that happened back then? And I don't trust Wild Wild Country in this case because I feel edits can create wrong narratives.
Let me tell you, sex happens every day in every family. Not only that, much abuse also happens in many families across the world. Why people only talk about Bhagwan's ashram or Bhagwan's community to enjoy sex? Now I tell you teaching of Bhagwan about sex. Sex and sexuality is the basic energy every individual has. If you want to tap into your creativity, you have to understand your sex and sexuality. We are so obsessed and preoccupied with sexuality, its perversion, and how to get to the goal of sexuality, that we don't even think about it and we violate other person's right of individuality. This preoccupation towards sex kills the creativity in you. You have to understand your own sexuality. You have to understand your basic value put together with sexuality. Until then, you will not be free in your mind. And what we are taught is to oppress it instead of live through it. And Bhagwan simply says, respect the other, through choice, engage in sexuality. Both partner should be consensuous. And then engage yourself in sexuality. What do people do? They want to have sex. Suddenly they fall in love with them. Where does the love come from? Because then they have a license to have sex. Or the parents take the youth and say, we get you married and you are tied down like a cow on a stake. And everything will be okay. No, nothing will be okay. Because now your perversion will be even more. Your obsession, your fantasies will be more. And then you engage yourself in acts they are shameful for mankind.
You said something about exploring sexuality. You need to explore your own sexuality, understand it. What does that mean?
Understand it is understand the limits of your sexuality. For example, you are attracted to a woman. Attraction immediately is shown on your genitals. Then how do you respond to that? It is how your response to it is how is your approach to yourself and the person you are attracted to.
Is it because it's a primal activity and the way your mind reacts to it says something about your mind?
It is your mind and your body both, because your mind takes over your genitals and desire. This is why in 90s, many psychiatrists told people who were impetus or who were sexually not motivated to watch the pornography. And then they will be aroused. But that's not what you need. That is playing on your problems. You become impetus because you are unsure of your own sexuality. People need to talk about their sexuality openly.
To have a better understanding of their minds and bodies is reactions. And everyone's minds and bodies reactions will be different. So I'm assuming you get to know a little bit about your own individual reaction, where you stand. It's
absolutely.
Like
that's what I'm talking about. And Bhagwan was one of the first men on the earth who spoke about sexuality and then presented it in the terms that people like to hear with superconsciousness. His book, From Sex to Superconsciousness, is a wonderful book.
What happens after you figured it? Like what's the next step?
Next step is respect, self-respect, and respect of the others. After that is no judgment about male, female, transgender, homosexuality. These are all human aspects, and they all should be viewed at a same eye level.
But isn't sex just like one other human thing? Like, is it really that much at the center of your mind?
Modern man
Okay.
suffers in it.
Okay.
And
Okay, understood.
not only that, modern men suffer so badly that they come down to ugliness of rape. Even married men behave badly in the bed with their own wives.
Got it.
And where does your violence come out?
So violence is a form of morphed, wrongly understood sexual energy.
Exactly.
Okay. And violence doesn't just have to be physical. It could be emotional violence, verbal violence, etc.
Violence is violence when you stop respecting the rights of the others.
My understanding of Osho is that he was against the idea of giving birth to children. Is that correct?
No.
Okay, that's what's reported online again.
Don't listen to it. That's why I don't listen to online things much.
Other than the Ranveer show from now on.
Only.
But go on.
That is not correct. What Bhagwan says, if you are going to have a career, then if you are burdened by the work you have as a woman, as a household woman, and you want to have a career, then what is the point of having children? Because you can't pay attention to children that they require, and you will be always burdened by at work worrying about your children. I find it logical.
Wow, I feel like I'm almost hypnotized talking to you. Like a little bit. Maybe that's the Bhagwan effect. Do you feel like he's in this room?
Bhagwan is in this room. If I'm here, he's there.
Okay.
I tell you why.
Tell me.
He was my trainer for speaking.
What was Osho's take on alcohol, marijuana, psychedelics? There's a big psychedelic revolution happening in the world of neurology. People are using it for therapeutic purposes. It's used for improving people's mental health. Did Osho have any angle on these things?
Bhagwan spoke about it till 1985 as an event that one should not engage in.
Okay. And what was his reason for that?
Reason for it, that meditation is a path of awareness. You are on path to learn about yourself, and any intoxication puts you to sleep. It makes you unaware. I don't mean physical sleep, but it makes you unaware. Addiction is against the freedom individual freedom
Of the soul.
of the soul and body also. And you are near him to learn about freedom. Then he came across some people who brought this element. That's when I chose to live Bhagwan.
What do you mean, this element?
Intoxication and drugs.
Alcohol and marijuana?
And many other things.
Okay.
And they had gotten Bhagwan addicted to it. And you will see it after my departure, some of the discourses, if you watch on the video. His tongue is slurring. His eyes are heavy. He wears dark glasses. These are typical events of drug consumption.
Are you comfortable sharing what drug it was? Like, was it weed?
Oh, no, I have nothing to do. And Bhagwan had told me himself, Sheela, you must protect me. Even against me, when I tell you something to do, you must protect me. I made him aware of what was going on. He was not ready to listen to me. 6 months it took me to fight with myself, and then I said, I cannot take care of Bhagwan. The work he has given me, I cannot fulfill. Then it's time for me to go, and he must have someone else who can do better. And that's when I left. So addiction, intoxication is not what I have learned from Bhagwan, but people use Bhagwan for different reasons. People use Bhagwan for justifying, and Bhagwan can give you every excuse to justify. But the way I knew Bhagwan, that was not a theme.
I hear you. What I've understood is that there is some level of discipline in whatever path you were following. There were certain disciplines, and there was definitely stuff that you weren't supposed to do. I'd like to know about the stuff that you were supposed to do, in terms of what would strengthen that discipline when it came to self-awareness. I forgot the word you used right now. Knowing yourself.
That's the word consciousness, awareness, Bhagwan used to use.
What were the activities? Because my assumption is that it would be meditation. But I mean, even if it was some sort of a breathing exercise or some visualization, I'd like to dig deep a little bit here.
Our full day in Pune ashram, when I was there, and Lakshmi was there, and we ran the ashram then, full of activities. In the morning, our dynamic meditation, before that laughing meditation, or some did laughing meditation, some did dynamic meditation. Then we went to listen to Bhagwan's discourse for 1.5 to 2 hours, and then workers went to work, whatever work assigned to them. And the visitors, they spent their time talking and enjoying the beautiful atmosphere that was available in the Pune ashram, or they went to their apartments or whatever, sightseeing, whatever they wanted to do. They came back, they had evening meditation, then Bhagwan's darshan, and after Bhagwan's darshan, ashram was closed. So we had a good structure. In between, people who came for therapy, they were assigned the therapy groups, and they went to their therapies.
I was so nervous to speak to you today. Couldn't stop thinking about this conversation today. What was in your mind about this? Nothing at all?
Nothing. I go totally blank. And I come out after the talking. My colleagues who are with me, they're exhausted listening to me, but I'm still okay.
I've learned in life that you shouldn't take advice from everybody and you should take advice from some people. And I want your advice. What do you have to say to me after spending time with me?
It is very essential to look at the Everest and try to reach out to Everest, then look down to valley and fall into the valley. When I am confused or I'm not clear in my thought, then I bounce it off with someone who I trust, who I love, who can give me uncorrupted answers or opinion. And then I decide which way I want to move.
Okay. Little cryptic, but I got it.
Too many words, huh?
No, but I'm following through. And in private, I have responded to it. Now, do you understand why I didn't want to speak to you before the show? Because there was like so many things to say to you, so many things to ask. What's your opinion on polyamory? It's like becoming a big cultural thing all over the world. And I'd like to know what Bhagwan also thought of the same.
I have never thought about such words. Never. I have lived what I have learned. And I think it will definitely be a lot more smoother than monogamy. Less psychological problems.
Smoother than monogamy.
Yes.
Why smoother?
Because monogamy breeds jealousy.
In all its cases?
I'm not generalizing. I'm saying much portion of it.
Okay.
I'm sure there are exceptions to the rules. But general problems of relationships are caused by comparison and jealousy, which is the cancer, disappointments from expectations, and depression. And world suffers a great deal with depression because their innermost emotions, feelings are not satisfied.
But maybe if the couple has both people who have achieved a fair level of self-awareness, then maybe it could be a successful monogamous relationship.
I fully agree with you. But when it comes to possessing a woman or a man, they don't change.
Okay. You think human beings go back to the most primal form of themselves?
Often what happens is security is the reason why two people come together.
Okay. Yeah.
Especially in our culture.
So at the ashram, there was no monogamy?
No. I'm sure some people did observe, but that was their choice and it is accepted.
So if polyamory was sort of the standard there, do you think that led to higher levels of happiness amongst those people when they were also involved in their own disciplines of meditation and all that? And I'm asking you this because, for me, when I look back, this happened before I was born. So it's kind of like a human experiment that happened before I came into this earth. I want to know what the outcomes of the human experiment were.
We were not engaged in dissecting situation.
Okay.
Bhagwan presented us fairly analyzed situation, and it made sense. It had a logic. Plus, he brought out the freedom that was being curtailed all over the world in 60s. He brought out the hankering for freedom that we had. And that freedom was sensational. And maybe that's why people started calling him, he's dangerous, he's a sex guru, this, that, and other. And I remember recently somebody sent me on my Instagram Mark Griffin interview, few cuts of it, where he asked me about sex. And I said, if you mean we charge for sex, no, we don't. You know, it is so dumb question. And people must rise above it, make jokes of it, how stupid it is. They want to look intelligent, but they look like morons.
I think that's kind of what the Kama Sutra says as well, right? That it's just a part of life, but you need to have a deeper understanding of it. And that's probably what the whole ashram stood for.
That was Bhagwan's purpose of bringing us to know your own sexuality.
Ma'am, there's this really famous photo of Osho placing a thumb on your forehead. I understand that from certain Indian perspectives. I've read about those things. The West might understand that as pineal gland activation or activating the third eye. So I gotta ask you, what was it like having your third eye activated by Osho?
No, it has nothing to do with third eye or fourth eye. For me, it is just being in communication with him.
What was happening? Can you describe it?
No, I cannot describe it because I wanted to have him completely. If I let my mind
observe
or bring in, then I would miss the opportunity of being with him.
Okay. You just opened yourself up to it.
I was being with him. For me, that was enough.
How do you explain it to someone who doesn't understand a phenomenon like that?
Misfortune.
Okay, fine, fair. Ma Anand Sheela, so many more questions for you, but something tells me I should stop right about here when it comes to this podcast.
Then do that.
How was the experience for you?
I feel wonderful. You are a lovely young man and intelligent young man, if I may say so, that you're putting so much thought into your work.
Thank you.
And I think try always to give 100% quality as you have offered me.
Okay, well, that's a big compliment to myself, the team. I love the most about you is your sense of humor. And, f the senators. Like, f them for like troubling you.
That is exactly my attitude. Screw them all.
Do they still trouble you?
Senators will trouble me. They can come and try. They haven't bothered up till now. They won't bother me in future. And if they decide to bother me, they should be worried about themselves.
I'm just loving being an Indian right now. We're on Team Ma Anand Sheela. That's what I'll say. Thank you. This is your new book. It is out now. What can people expect?
They can expect that what they have heard and read about me may not be the same what they read in my book. But let them find out. I won't give the mystery away.
Ma Anand Sheela, thank you for being on the Ranveer show again. Bow down to you, bow down to your divine feminine, and bow down to this ocean of knowledge that you claim is with you at all points. Rajneesh.
It is all from Bhagwan.
Outros are all about me sharing my genuine perspective about the conversation. What I will share is that this is a powerful lady in more ways than what you understand when I say the word powerful. Sometimes you get to know how powerful someone is when you're in their presence, when they're sharing the same space as you, or the same physical space. But you really get to know someone's power when you interact with them, when you have deep conversation with them. I'm sure you got a glimpse of this lady's powerful mind in this particular episode. What you'll never know is the glimpse of the energy that I felt during the conversation. There's so much more to unpack with Ma Anand Sheela, and speaking to her was genuinely one of the honors of my life. This has been a dream episode for me, so I'm glad that it got ticked off our list. For more fantastic episodes like this, make sure you follow us on Spotify. Every episode's available on Spotify 48 hours before it's available anywhere else in the world. This is Ranveer and the team, leaving you with another fantastic conversation. As is the case with TRS in general, we'll be back soon.